It was a clear, sunny morning at Miami International Airport. The sky stretched endlessly, painted in shades of blue that promised a perfect day for flying. Flight 763 was scheduled to depart at exactly 9:15 a.m., carrying 25 passengers along with 5 crew members. The aircraft was a sleek, modern twin-engine turboprop designed for regional flights. It was nothing extraordinary, just an ordinary flight heading from Miami to San Juan, Puerto Rico, a route flown many times before. On board were 25 people, each carrying their own story, their own worries and hopes. Among them were families taking vacations, business people with important meetings, tourists eager to explore, and a few locals heading home. The cabin was filled with quiet chatter, the hum of the engines, and the occasional clink of coffee cups. Among the passengers was Susan Parker, a mother traveling with her 2 young children. She was tired from the early morning rush, but felt a small relief knowing they'd soon be on a warm island beach. Nearby sat Daniel, a young businessman, reviewing documents on his tablet, his face serious and focused. Further down the aisle, an elderly couple held hands tightly, sharing smiles that spoke of decades together. Captain James Reynolds was at the helm, a seasoned pilot with over 15 years of experience flying this route. He had a calm demeanor, and his crew trusted him implicitly. First Officer Lisa Harper sat beside him, fresh from flight school, but eager and competent. The crew moved through their pre-flight checks efficiently, unaware of the ominous fate awaiting them. As the plane taxied down the runway, the tower gave clearance. Engines roared, wheels lifted, and Flight 763 was airborne, ascending into the vast expanse of sky. The initial climb was smooth, and the passengers settled into their seats, some dozing off, others gazing out the windows at the shrinking city below. As the plane approached the edge of the Florida coast, the calm ocean spread out beneath them. The water glittered in the sunlight, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The flight path would take them over the infamous Bermuda Triangle, a region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean known for mysterious disappearances and strange phenomena. Despite the myths, modern aviation and navigation technology made the Bermuda Triangle no more dangerous than any other stretch of ocean. Yet, as Flight 763 approached the boundary, a subtle change seemed to settle over the cabin. Captain Reynolds noticed it first. His instruments flickered slightly, a small anomaly he quickly dismissed as a technical glitch. The radio crackled with static for a brief moment before clearing. He glanced at the radar screen and frowned. Something was not quite right. "Lisa, he said quietly. Keep an eye on the instruments. I'm getting a weird reading here. Lisa leaned forward, her brow furrowed. The radar showed an area of interference, something that made it difficult to track their exact position. The autopilot wavered, briefly disengaging before stabilizing again. In the cabin, a sudden hush fell. The warm chatter died down as the passengers instinctively sensed the tension. Susan gripped her children's hands tighter. Daniel looked up from his tablet, eyes darting nervously. The elderly couple exchanged worried glances. Then came the first announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Reynolds' voice came over the intercom, calm but serious. We're experiencing some unexpected technical difficulties as we enter the Bermuda Triangle. Please remain seated and keep your seatbelts fastened. Our crew is handling the situation. Outside the window, the ocean below shifted in color, as if shadows were creeping beneath the surface. The sunlight dimmed. Clouds gathered in unnatural patterns, swirling slowly, dark and heavy. Inside the cockpit, alarms beeped faintly. The compass spun wildly. The GPS coordinates fluctuated. The plane began to shake gently, barely noticeable at first, but growing steadily. The passengers tightened their grips, bracing for turbulence. But this was no ordinary shake. It felt as if the very air around them was twisting. Captain Reynolds fought the controls, his voice steady but strained. Brace for turbulence, folks. Stay calm. Suddenly, a radio burst to life with a distress signal, garbled, broken, barely intelligible. This is Flight 763, Reynolds transmitted, experiencing severe navigation failure, requesting immediate assistance. But the response never came. Static swallowed the airwaves. Minutes stretched like hours. The outside world became a blur of clouds and eerie light. Instrument in the cabin. The atmosphere grew heavy, almost suffocating. Passengers whispered prayers, held hands, eyes wide with fear. No one spoke of the Bermuda Triangle legends now. They lived the terror. Then, without warning, the plane shuddered violently. Lights flickered. A strange vibration pulsed through the cabin. Captain Reynolds gritted his teeth, desperate to regain control. "Hold on! We're going down!" The descent was chaotic. No steady glide, but a sudden plunge. Outside, the ocean rose up to meet them, dark and menacing. And then, silence. The wreckage of Flight 763 was never found. No distress calls, no debris, no bodies. It was as if the plane and all 25 souls aboard had vanished without a trace. Search parties scoured the sea, diving planes and ships combing the waters for clues. But the Bermuda Triangle kept its secrets. Back home, families waited, hoping, praying, clinging to the faintest signs of life. Days turned to weeks. The news cycles grew quiet. The tragedy faded into legend. Yet those who knew the truth whispered of something more sinister. Some said the triangle was a gateway, a portal where reality bent and swallowed those who crossed. Others believed the passengers were trapped, caught between worlds, lost in an endless limbo. For Captain Reynolds and his crew, the last moments remained a mystery. Their voices frozen in static, their fate sealed by the unseen forces lurking in the deep. And days turned into restless nights for the families and friends left behind. Every news bulletin was met with hope that quickly dissolved into despair. The government issued statements promising thorough investigations, but the void remained. In the small town of Key Largo, a community deeply connected to the sea, locals gathered at the dock to share stories. Fishermen who knew the waters spoke in hushed voices about strange lights and eerie silence over the triangle. Some claimed to have seen shadows beneath the waves, something not natural, something watching. Meanwhile, the media frenzy faded, but a group of amateur researchers and conspiracy enthusiasts grew fascinated by the disappearance of Flight 763. They pored over radar data, flight logs, and weather reports, searching for patterns, hoping to capture evidence or find clues. Their journey was filled with anticipation and unease. As their plane crossed the infamous region, instruments began to flicker. Suddenly, their cameras recorded a strange, pulsating light beneath the water's surface. It vanished as quickly as it appeared. Returning with the footage, back in Miami, the families struggled to accept the loss. Some turned to faith, others to bitterness. Susan Parker, the mother from the flight, organized a small memorial at the airport. She spoke quietly, her voice steady despite the tears. "We may never know what happened," she said, "but they will never be forgotten." The mystery remained open, unanswered, a chilling reminder that some corners of the world still hold secrets, waiting silently beneath the waves. The months that followed saw the story of Flight 763 become a legend, whispered in bars, on online forums, and late-night radio shows. Tourists flocked to the Florida Keys, drawn by the eerie allure of the Bermuda Triangle's secrets. The local economy, tinged with a mix of fear and fascination, grew around the unsolved mystery. Mark Simmons, haunted by the unanswered questions, poured himself into research. He gathered a team of scientists, divers, and historians to explore the ocean depths where Flight 763 had vanished. Their boat, the Endeavour, was equipped with the latest sonar and underwater cameras, hoping to pierce the darkness. Days at sea were long and grueling, the sun baking the deck by day and the stars glaring cold at night. The team made several deep dives, scanning the ocean floor. Strange formations appeared on the sonar, geometric shapes that didn't match any known natural structures. The ocean was silent, except for the distant call of whales and the creaking of the ship. One dive, pilot Laura Reynolds spotted something unusual, a wreckage partially buried in sand, twisted metal glinting faintly. They sent down remote-operated vehicles to capture footage, revealing a fuselage that bore a faded insignia matching Flight 763's airline. But the wreck was strangely intact. No signs of the explosion or crash damage expected from a high-speed impact. As they reviewed the footage back on the Endeavour, a chill passed over the team. The cabin windows showed shadowy figures moving just out of clear view. At first, they thought it was a trick of light or camera distortion. But as they enhanced the images, the figures became clearer. Mark remained focused, but couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled onto something beyond human understanding. Suddenly, their instruments began to malfunction. Compasses spun wildly. Radios emitted static-filled cries. The sea grew unnervingly still. Was the Bermuda Triangle a portal? A graveyard of vanished travelers trapped between worlds? Mark knew this was only the beginning. And as night fell over the Keys, the ocean whispered its secrets, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to cross its path. The media frenzy following the Endeavour's discoveries reignited worldwide interest. Documentaries aired, podcasts dissected every frame of the underwater footage, and conspiracy theorists offered their own chilling explanations. Yet, no one could definitively explain what those shadowy figures were, or why the plane's wreckage was so eerily preserved. Mark, despite his scientific background, found himself pulled deeper into the unknown. He started to experience strange dreams, visions of the ocean swallowing the plane whole, whispers carried by the wind, and cold hands brushing against his skin in the dead of night. His team dismissed it as stress, but Mark knew something was calling him. One evening, at a quiet bar near the docks, he met an old fisherman named Joe, who had spent decades sailing those waters. Joe spoke in low tones about the silent depths, a local legend of a place beneath the Bermuda Triangle where time bent and souls were trapped between life and death. They say the triangle's heart isn't just water and storms, Joe said, eyes glinting with a mix of fear and respect. It's a gateway. Those who enter, they don't just disappear. They become part of it. Mark felt a shiver crawl down his spine, but pressed Joe for more details. The fisherman described an underwater cavern system, vast and labyrinthine, filled with the echoes of lost voices. Some believed these caves were the final resting place of Flight 763, and others who vanished before it. Inspired, Mark organized a deeper dive expedition, this time with specialized cave diving equipment and a small, highly trained team. They planned to descend into the silent depths, risking the unknown to finally uncover the truth. The night before the dive, Mark sat alone, staring out at the calm sea under a full moon. He wondered if the truth was worth the price, if the lost souls wanted to be found, or if they were better left in peace. As dawn broke, the Endeavor set sail once more, cutting through the quiet waters of the Bermuda Triangle, where mystery waited in the dark and the line between reality and nightmare blurred. As the Endeavor glided into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, the atmosphere aboard was tense but resolute. The team, seasoned and focused, prepared their gear meticulously. Mark checked the sonar readings one last time. Signals were faint but consistent, guiding them toward the underwater caves Joe had spoken of. Descending into the cold, dark abyss, the divers felt the pressure of the ocean compressing around them. The water grew colder, visibility narrowing as they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine caverns. Strange echoes bounced off the stone walls, like distant whispers or muffled cries. Mark's light swept over debris, shattered metal fragments, pieces of fabric, confirming they were on the right path. Then, suddenly, they saw it, a faint glow emanating from a tunnel ahead. Unnatural, yet oddly mesmerizing. The team hesitated, but Mark urged forward. As they approached, shadowy figures flickered at the edge of their vision, shapes that vanished when focused upon. Heartbeats quickened. The air, or what passed for it underwater, seemed charged. In the chamber beyond, they discovered a haunting sight. Dozens of personal belongings, watches, journals, photographs, floating, suspended, as if caught in time. The presence was overwhelming, a mixture of sorrow and warning. Mark reached out to touch a photograph, feeling a chill run through his body. Suddenly the cavern trembled. The passage behind them collapsed, trapping them inside. Panic surged, but Mark calmed his team, insisting they push onward to find another exit. As they ventured deeper, voices whispered in the water around them, some pleading, others angry. The team struggled to maintain composure, each step heavier than the last. Time itself seemed to warp. Minutes stretched into hours, or perhaps seconds. Finally, a narrow fissure appeared, shimmering with faint light. With a collective effort, they swam through and emerged into a vast, underwater chamber, filled with strange bioluminescent flora. Here, Mark felt a presence, an intelligence watching, waiting. But discovery was beyond science, beyond explanation. A silent pact was made. Some mysteries were not meant to be fully unveiled. The team retreated, burdened with knowledge and haunted by the voices of the lost. Back on the Endeavor, as they ascended toward the surface, the Bermuda Triangle's calm waters seemed almost welcoming. But Mark knew the ocean held its secrets tight, and that the last flight over the Bermuda Triangle was not just a tragedy, but a doorway to something far darker. The crew surfaced slowly, gasping for air, hearts pounding not just from exertion, but from the heavy weight of what they had uncovered beneath the waves. The ocean's surface was deceptively peaceful, reflecting the fiery colors of a setting sun. As if nothing had happened, the higher-ups wanted evidence, but Mark felt the true story was too dangerous to fully reveal. What they had witnessed wasn't just an underwater cave or a forgotten crash site. It was something alive, something that had claimed those 25 passengers in a way no one could understand. News of their dive leaked quickly. Headlines screamed of the mystery and the vanished flight, drawing in conspiracy theorists, paranormal enthusiasts, and the media frenzy that always followed tales of the Bermuda Triangle. Mark spent sleepless nights, haunted by the photographs and voices. He reviewed every clip, every sonar ping, trying to find a rational explanation. But the images defied logic. Faces blurred and shifting, shadows moving against the current, and faint echoes of last words lost in the water. Days later, the team received an anonymous message. The Triangle never forgets. It was a chilling reminder that their journey was far from over. The ocean had claimed its victims once again, but the mystery deepened. Was the Bermuda Triangle a natural phenomenon, a gateway, or something darker? Mark realized that those 25 souls lost forever were not the end, but the beginning of a story that would haunt him and America for years to come. If you want to uncover what truly happened on that last flight and dive deeper into the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle, subscribe and stay tuned for the next chapter.